want to say how grateful and blessed I am to be here at this church, to have been asked to speak. Is something that I couldn't even have comprehended a year ago. I just want to start. I'm from Enid, Oklahoma, a small town. I was raised by my mom, and my grandparents lived next door. And it was kind of like the unit kind of raised me. And I was an only child, so I was always very spoiled. And I was smart in school. I graduated high school and got a full ride to Northwestern, and I had these big plans to become a physician's assistant, and I was going to do everything that my family wanted me to do, and I wanted to do it too, but mainly I just wanted to make them happy. And I guess I should rewind a little bit and say that when I was 14, my father hung himself from addiction, and I had made a vow to myself that I was never going to be like him. And my mom's been in sobriety for 30 years, so I just knew I was going to be like her. I knew I wasn't going to have to struggle, and I wasn't going to have to see the ugly side of life. And looking back now, I know that like all the dreams I had for myself was really just an illusion, because I didn't really know God. I didn't know his character. I didn't know what he had in store for me. I had every plan on top of Bonnie, but what Bonnie had planned. I didn't pray. I just knew that I had it all figured out and that it was going to work out how I wanted it to work out. My junior year of college, I got pregnant with my long-term boyfriend that I had been with since right after my dad died. And I moved back home, and at this time I had been on like some prescription benzos for anxiety, and I drank a lot in college, but I didn't think I had a problem. And when I moved back home, throughout my pregnancy even, I struggled with addiction. I just couldn't seem to get through anything that was emotionally difficult for me without taking some kind of substance to get me through that. Luckily, my son was born. He was healthy, big baby. His name's Camden, and he is awesome. He's smart, and he's really the light of my life.
Yeah, he is.
But after I had him, paired with the postpartum depression and being still in active addiction, it really threw me into full-fledged addiction. And looking back now, that really wasn't even the tip of the iceberg of it yet, even though I thought that it was so bad. One night I was at the house, and I was by myself, and I overdosed. And the paramedics came, and they knocked the door down, and took me to the hospital, and it turned out that I had taken an entire prescription of Xanax, all 90 of them. And still though, I was like, well, I wasn't trying to do that, and I didn't think that I had a problem, but I went ahead and went to treatment to make everybody happy, and I just was so disgusted with myself at this point in my life, because I hadn't graduated college. I'd become a drug addict, just like my dad, and it was so hard for my family to be around me, because I used to bring such joy to them, and now all I was bringing was chaos every time. It was me, calling from jail, or, from the hospital, or the police were calling, or my son's dad was calling, talking about she's doing crazy things again. And so I went to treatment, and it wasn't long that I was back, and I had left my son's dad, and I found myself, not within maybe 3 or 4 months, I was homeless on the streets of Enid, and I was doing meth. And that really went downhill fast. I just was in places that I never had thought that I would be, ever. Places with no electricity, no water, dirty, filthy places with people that I had no business being around. So I ended up going to jail 12 times while I was on meth. And my grandpa ended up dying in February of 2019. And that pretty much set me into a full-blown psychosis that I never came out of until I did decide to get sober. And I was that person that was walking in the streets of Enid, talking to herself, an embarrassment to my family, and everybody was just heartbroken. It was just something that I never planned for myself to be that person. And I didn't see a way out. I didn't see how I was going to end up anywhere other than dead, just like my dad, or in prison. And I couldn't see a way out. Finally, after 2 years of living like that, I'd been through some pretty traumatic experiences. I got held hostage for 6 days and tortured, and I didn't think that I was going to live. And it wasn't a month later, I went to Rose Rock Recovery Center in Veneta, Oklahoma, and I was there, and a girl, she said she was at Hope is Alive, and that the faith just blew through her there. And when I started at treatment, the girls were singing Christian music, and I wasn't used to listening to Christian music. The people that I hung out with didn't listen to that. You know, they listened to the complete opposite of that. So I started reading the Bible daily, and my counselor said, just start reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so that's what I did. And I started taking, little suggestions from people. And I'd already been in treatment twice before, and so I was deciding that I was going to go to sober living this time because I really wanted to make a difference in my life. Like, I wanted it to be different this time. And so I went to Hope is Alive, and my family's still pretty iffy when I got out of there. This was in August of 2020. I got baptized by Lance Lang, the founder of Hope is Alive.
Yeah.
A couple months in. And my life just started getting better. I came around in the house slowly, not sure how much to open up to people, but once I did, and it was just all out there. And I really surrendered my life to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you did.
I started to realize,
come on.
I started to realize what the scripture means when it's not me that lives, but it's Christ that lives in me.
Come on, Bonnie.
And that, no weapons formed against me shall prosper.
Right.
It's not me that lives, it's Jesus. So I know that only good can come out of it. So at the end of 2020, everybody's like, this was the worst year ever. And, I'm like, this is the best year ever.
Yeah, it was, baby.
And I'm happy to say now that 2021 is the best year that I've ever had, so that I don't sound, so crazy when I'm like, 2020, yeah! So I'm just really grateful. One thing that Hope is Alive and being sober has given me is that my son has somebody to look up to today that he can look up to, and I will lead him to great things.
Yeah, you will.
I don't want anything less than him, and I show that with my actions. I drug my mom on a course with me that no mother should ever have to go through with her child. And now my mom's able to sleep at night. She's able to care for Camden now, knowing that it's temporary. That Bonnie's on her way to becoming the mother that God meant for her to be.
Right. So good.
At Hope is Alive, I'm really getting to know the character of God. I'm really getting to work on those deep-seated issues within myself, like codependency and relationship issues, because I didn't always pick the best of them, by any means. And I'm just really grateful for the chance, the opportunities that I have here coming to speak to you guys. Like I said, I couldn't have fathomed a year ago. So one other thing that Hope is Alive has given me is hope for the future.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lady came to speak a couple of weeks ago, and she works for OSU OKC, and I owe so much in student loans, I didn't think that I'd ever get to get back into college. And she has brought this message that God has called her to do, and she works for this foundation for social innovation there. And I applied last week, and I have my placement test next week, and my official entrance letter will be on July 2nd, but from what I'm looking at, it looks like I'm going to be in the RN program there, and I'm really excited.
Yeah! Yeah!
Giving God glory for any of it. I would have thought that it was all because of me. And I wouldn't have been able to show my son the right way to live in life, and I know what's right and wrong. I have the choice every day to live sober. Do I want to live like my mom and choose recovery today, or go the other way? And we all know what that path leads to.
Right.
So I'm just really grateful to be able to be up here and tell you guys a little bit about myself, where I came from, what happened, and where I'm at now. And thanks for listening.
Yeah.